And Arab League peace envoy Kofi Annan is in Damascus to meet President Bashar al-Assad, with talks scheduled for later on Monday. In an interview with German television, which was broadcast on Sunday, President Assad was asked if he would be prepared to step down if it brought peace to Syria and an end to the bloodshed.
Of course, I still have public support. How much, what the percentage? This is another question. I don't have numbers now. But of course, to stay in this position, in this situation, you must have public support.
I've been to some of the demonstrations, even in Homs, in peaceful demonstrations. Isn't it legitimate if people demand for more freedom, more democracy, and less power in the hands of one family, less power in the hands of secret services?
Let's correct the question first to have the correct answer. We don't have power in the hand of a family. In Syria we have state, we have institutions, maybe not the ideal institutions, but we don't have family to run the country. So we have a state. This is first of all. So now we can answer the first part. Of course they have the right. They have legitimate right, whether they are demonstrators or not. Not only demonstrators ask for freedom. Actually, the majority of the people who ask for reform, political reform, not freedom. We have freedom, but not the ideal freedom. But the reform, let's say, to have more participation in the power, in the government, in everything else, in their country. This is legitimate, but the majority are not in the demonstrations. You have people who demonstrated and you have not, but this is legitimate.
A question that everybody is asking in the Western countries, in your country, who has killed the thousands of civilians who died in this conflict? The opposition blames you.
If you want to know who killed, you have first to know who has been killed. We cannot tell about the criminal without knowing about the victims. Those victims that you're talking about, the majority of them are government supporters. So how can you be the criminal and the victim at the same time? The majority are people who support the government, and large part of the others are innocent people who's been killed by different groups in Syria.
Would you admit that some of these, or a certain percentage of these innocent civilians, has been killed by your security forces, a certain percentage?
No, you don't have, because you have investigation committee about all the crimes that happened in Syria. But from the list that we have, from the names that we have, the highest percentage, people who are killed by gangs in different kind of gangs, whether Al-Khaldia, whether extremists or outlaws, people who escaped the police for years.
So you say that the rebels, whom you call terrorists, have killed more civilians than the security forces?
Not really. They killed more security and soldiers, maybe, than civilians. I'm talking about the supporters.
But if we talk only about the civilians, did the rebels kill more civilians than the security forces? Or did the security forces kill more civilians?
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you talk about the support of the government, the victims from the security and the army are more than the civilians.
You said there are investigations against those members of the security forces who might have killed innocent civilians. Have some of them been punished?
Yeah, of course. They were detained in prisons. They've been they are subjected to trial now, like any other crime.
Who has committed the massacre of Hula, in which more than 100 people were brutally murdered, among them many children?
Yeah. Gangs came in hundreds from outside the city, not from inside the city, and they attacked the city, and they attacked the law enforcement forces unit inside the city, and then they killed many families, and as you mentioned, children and women. And actually, those families that's been killed, they are government supporters, not opposition.
I was told by somebody who lives in Hula and who lost members of his family. He told me that the killers wore army uniforms. Why did they wear army uniforms?
Just to accuse our government. That happened many times. They committed a crime, they published videos, fake videos, and they wear the soldier uniform, our army uniform, in order to say this is the army. So it's been killing the people in Syria.
You say this is a strategy of the rebels?
Yeah, from the very beginning. Yeah, they do it all the time.
The Syrian President Bashar al-Assad speaking on German television. You're watching BBC News. Still ahead,